Welcome to Lesotho, the Mountain Kingdom, a landlocked country in the middle of South Africa. It is here that the mother of all hard-enduro races exists. 3 days of punishing riding through some of the roughest terrain known to man. But first, the competitors have to get through 2 rounds of qualifying, and the first one begins on the city streets of Maseru, the capital of Lesotho.
We're about to do round the houses. Tension is thick here.
And now the Roof of Africa begins.
The roof kicks off with around the houses, which is a 9-kilometer sprint around the tar, 3 laps of a 3-kilometer track, and it's insane.
It's mainly just for spectators and, get the vibe up and entertain the local people, and it's totally different to what we're going to be doing the whole weekend.
After the first lap, Daryl Curtis and Lawrence Mahoney begin to separate themselves from the pack. They play a game of cat and mouse as the lead swaps back and forth. But in the end, it's 2-time champion Daryl Curtis who edges out his fellow countrymen.
No, that was a lot of fun, man. Lawrence is a bit crazy, so yeah, I didn't expect to be so close with him around the houses, but yeah, it made for some good fun, eh?
I thought he's getting older, but he's not. He's just getting faster.
The early days of the roof saw a flat-out burn over 1,000 kilometers in 2 days of racing. For years, the competitors traveled by bikes, buggies, and trucks through the Maluti mountain passes.
Well, I think the Roof of Africa is one of those races that everybody knows about. Its legacy goes back 45 years. Yeah, the Roof is probably one of the most prestigious events in South Africa. It's been running since 1965.
It's just a special place, and just the name Roof of Africa is what everybody wants to do. And I've had a fantastic time at the Roof of Africa. It's been one of my favorite races, and winning it 9 times.
With the long history of riders who have raced this event, there is one man whose legacy at the roof will never be forgotten.
It's got a shiver down my spine. Errol Dalton and myself were very close. In fact, our first race ever was goes back to April 1987. Ria and myself and Errol used to come here together and train in the mountains, and they were definitely some of the best times that I've ever had. I've known Errol most of my life. When I started racing, he was already competing with Daryl and Alfie and all of them.
Initially, Errol Dalton was supposed to assume the role of route director and plan the whole event, and unfortunately, in July this year, he passed away.
Yeah, it was a freak accident at a super motard event. Errol's foot peg clipped the curb, and he went down, skidded across the track, and he hit his head on the curb on the opposite side, and it was pretty instant. He passed away, and that's how quick it was.
It's a sad loss for motorsport in general, and the South Africans who loved the man.
He was exceptionally good here in Lesotho in the mountains, and he's definitely sorely missed by everybody.
So this event has been dedicated to Errol, his family, and it's just something we wanted to do for him.
With round the houses out of the way, the competitors gear up for the time trial.
You can start the time trial at any time you want. It's a bit of a guessing game, a bit of a bluffing game as to who goes first. Like, you want to let as many people go in front of you as possible to try and get the track to be more defined so you don't have to navigate. But then the downside is that there's more people in front of you, so there's more dust, more possible bottlenecks and that sort of thing.
I personally think this year the South African riders are a bit more prepared for the Roof of Africa, and I think they know where the level are set by Jarvis and Birch and Letty and all those guys, and I think it's going to be a lot closer racing, and towards the end I think there's going to be a couple of surprises.
The time trial route is relatively short, only 60 kilometers through the flowing lowlands. The quickest riders are rewarded with leading the field out on the first day of the main event. As the time trial begins to unfold, the South Africans are once again making a statement of intent. Mark Torlaga, who finished 4th at the roof last year, secures the fastest time of the day. Right behind him is 16-year-old Wade Young, who is raising a few eyebrows amongst his peers on his roof debut.
I didn't expect to do so well today. I'm so happy with what I've done so far.
Surprisingly, last year's winner didn't have the race he was looking for and finishes down in 10th place.
I did get lost a fair bit. I missed a few turnings and a minute here, a minute there. So it just shows in this type of event you can't afford any mistakes like that.
The rest of the pros, like Paul Bolton, Andreas Lettenbichler, and Daryl Curtis, are all still in the mix.
Yeah, I was definitely surprised to win last year. I mean, no experience. The terrain's different to anything I experienced before, but I adapted quite well last year.
I've had a 4th place here, which is pretty much my standard number usually. I'm good at 4th places, but now I'd like to get on the podium again and see see how we go.
Yeah, the Roof of Africa is the last race in the season, and I'm looking forward to get a good position.
Winning the roof 3 times in a row was incredible and not something I ever really thought would happen.
It's going to be a lot closer racing to the international riders.
I'm really hungry for this race. I've done my prep, I've done my training. Bike is awesome. I'm in the best team available, and yeah, I'm ready.
In any race I do, I want to be at the top, and I don't train because I have to train. I train because I want to train, and I want to do things like that.
I have to have my money on and my hopes on my rider. Chris Birch, he knows the mountains. He's been here many, many times. Chris knows he's on his way home next week to have their new baby, and I think he'd like to go here with a win for sure.
Graham's had an incredible series of results all year long. He's really, really dominated, but I think he's beatable.
Day 2 at the Roof of Africa. Let the games begin.
Just getting ready for day 2. Apparently it's like 250 kilometres. I'm like 9 minutes behind the winner, so I'm going to start 9 minutes behind today. So a bit to catch up.
We've got a big day ahead. Time trial yesterday means nothing. Today's where it counts.
It's going to be a really, really long day, so a little bit of survival as well.
Having won the time trial yesterday, Mark Torlaga races off into the morning light. But he'll soon have company as surprise package Wade Young is hot on his back wheel. Chris Birch will happily sit back and let the leaders duke it out, but little does he know that today his race will change completely.
Start of a new morning here. Had a really bad day, but it could have been worse. I'm still starting 15th.
I think I'm about a minute behind Chris and about three and a half minutes behind the leader.
Graham Jarvis has a lot of ground to make up, but he knows that when the terrain gets tough, his skills will give him the advantage. The rest of the pack gives chase, all eager to make their move up the leaderboard. It's day 2 at the Roof of Africa. As the leaders start to establish themselves, one rider's race is over.
Paul Bolton had a small tumble in the forest in the dust of one of the riders. He's okay. I've spoken to him and everything seems to be all right. He's called it a day.
But he's not the only one who is having issues. As the leaders reach the fuel stop, Chris Birch is in a tailspin and is losing control of his race and his body.
It was like my body just flicked a switch and I crashed and just started spewing up what was left inside me, and it was pretty scary. I haven't had a meltdown like that before.
But the Kiwi will never quit. For Chris, it's death before DNF. Meanwhile, at the front, Wade Young is doing the unthinkable. The 16-year-old has taken the lead and has built an 8-minute gap over the rest of the pack. But as expected, here comes Graham Jarvis. He's in second place and is coming on strong. And with the hardest route of the day coming up, it could be the opening Jarvis has been waiting for. At the front, the youngest is riding the roof like a veteran. His strategy of having a huge gap will make up for any problems at the next technical section. Graham Jarvis hasn't been his usual self today. He wasn't expecting to be outpaced by a speedy kid 21 years his junior. But moving up the leaderboard are the South Africans. Daryl Curtis has come out of nowhere, and Altus de Vet is also charging. Both have cracked the top 5. Wade Young is now at free fall, the last ascent to the finish, but his lead is anything but safe. The silent assassin is back as he makes his way up this unforgiving section. But the day belongs to Young. He crosses the finish line in just over 8 hours on the bike.
I just felt good. I pushed hard, battled, tough. The heat's killing, but thanks to everyone that helped me out there. When the crowd scream, I get goosebumps. It's awesome.
Jarvis arrives 2 minutes later. He holds second place. Just moments behind, de Vet arrives at the summit. He may be tired, but he isn't broken. Altus is in third place.
I've never heard of Wade Young until today, but yeah, he's obviously a fantastic rider.
Tomorrow promises to be a fight to the finish, with the top 10 all within striking distance. The young pretender is going to be tested like never before. Will his lead be enough?
That's so long and so hard.
And here it is, the final day. Will history be made, or will the favorite rise to the occasion?
Obviously this morning I'm going to try and stay with Jarvis. Then when we get to please push me fast in the gold loop, then I'm going to try and push as hard as I can to try and stay in the top 3, that's for sure.
I'm in second position, 10 minutes behind the leader, so a bit of a tall order, but I'm going to have to give it a go.
My plan is just to keep pushing through the day and just try and not let Jarvis and the guys see me, and just keep pushing as hard as I can.
Today the route is shorter than yesterday, but it will not be easier. The section that will decide this race is called Push Me Pass, the last brutal climb through the Maluti Mountains. As the old adage goes, in order to finish first, you must first finish. And with a 10-minute lead, Young is playing it safe and smart. Now, with the odds against him, Jarvis is in all-out attack mode. He is running out of time. Meanwhile, Altus de Vet is shadowing the Brit, hoping to make his move when the time is right. Wade Young arrives at the refuel station. Every moment is critical. He makes an interesting choice by switching to a Trials tire. He anticipates needing the grip when he arrives at Push Me Pass. Like clockwork, Jarvis and de Vet are right behind. Altus has closed the gap on Jarvis. The chase is on. Daryl Curtis has also made up time on the leaders. His late charge yesterday gives him hope for the podium. Meanwhile, Chris Birch's struggles continue. Today is not his day. The same is true for Andreas Lettenbichler. Once again, his hopes for a victory are slowly slipping away. but the question everyone is asking, can Young hold on? Earlier in the week, the guys got to explore the exotic South African countryside in a special place called Kwakwa.
My name is Philip Skuman. We take our tours in this area. We're in Kwakwa right now. We're bordering on the Maluti Mountains. Kwakwa means whiter than white. The reason why they called it whiter than white was because the sandstone in this area looks very like snow, and it's white. We're riding with Paul Bolton, Chris Birch, and a few local South African riders like Altus de Vet, William Gillett. The riding that I enjoy is this type of riding, just free riding and having fun.
Back to the brutal reality of the race, the leaders begin their ascent into the teeth of the course. Belakumi Pass is up first. The heat is a serious factor, and with rocks all around you, the temperatures are magnified. The riders have to deal with all this at 2,400 meters above sea level, the threshold at which altitude sickness can set in. Young still maintains the lead, however, the brutal terrain is taking its toll. For the first time, the rookie is vulnerable and Jarvis, meanwhile, is having to look behind him rather than ahead of him. He is fighting off de Vet, who is hell-bent on overtaking him. But still, the rugged terrain isn't willing to reward him just yet. For the rest of the pack, it's not about winning right now, it's about finishing. 450 competitors started the event, but by the end of today, more than half will have not even made it. It's called Push Me Pass, and it needs no explanation, just some serious help conquering it. Young is back on track and moving forward while Graham Jarvis seems to be going backwards. Problems with the GPS gets him off course. This is the opening Altus de Vet was waiting for, and he takes full advantage to take second. In the final stages of the roof, pure willpower takes over. The finish is getting closer, but seems still far away for the riders. For Altus, it's been an emotional race. One moment he's chasing the world's best rider, and the next he's being hunted by him. Graham Jarvis has recovered and is right behind de Vet and gaining. Can the South African hold him off? Wade Young is on his last climb to the promised land. His incredible victory and rewrite of the history books awaits. Wade Young has done the nearly impossible by winning one of the biggest hard-enduro races in the world at only 16 years of age, the youngest ever winner of the Roof of Africa. He is the first South African in 5 years to claim the coveted trophy.
So it's a feeling that I can't describe. It's most riders that have won races, big races like that, will know what I'm talking about, and it's a really awesome feeling, and I just can't thank everyone behind me enough.
The spectators await the next rider. It's Altus. He held off Jarvis when it counted most and achieved his best result at the Roof.
Crowds are cheering and all the people are there, and then you get that extra bit of energy to do the last little bit. But an incredible race. It was a tough one.
The final spot on the podium belongs to Graham Jarvis. Not counting Erzberg, this would be his first loss in 18 months. But no shame here. Sometimes you learn more from a loss than a win. The South Africans have put on a show for the last 3 days as Daryl Curtis and Mark Torlaga make it to the checkered flag. They finish 4th and 5th respectively. Chris Birch, Andreas Lettenbeckler, and Paul Bolton didn't get the results they were looking for, but you can bet they will be back next year. As the rest of the riders cross the finish, you begin to understand the magnitude of their achievement. The finish is the ultimate prize. As we see the official results, 8 out of the top 10 riders are South African. But this year's race will be remembered for the 16-year-old who dared to tackle the world's best and beat them all. As the 2012 season comes to a close, the guys reflect on their journey.
2012 highlights for me in the hard-enduro season were definitely Auckland, New Zealand, the City Scramble, which was such an awesome event and great setting.
My highlights this season, it's obviously the big events are good to win, Romaniacs and Hell's Gate. Another disappointment at Erzberg, but that gives me something to aim for next year, definitely. And but yeah, it's been another good season, the bike's going well and I'm still enjoying it.
My highlight this year was the Romaniacs. I finished second off the Graham. I had bad luck in Erzberg. I missed one sign and yeah, but all the other races I was lucky to travel around the world, to X Games, to New Zealand, City Scramble.
2012's been a tough year. I made a mistake on the second to last day of the Dakar Rally and I broke my ankle in 2 places and smashed my nose up and knocked myself a bit silly.
In 2013, I'd like to obviously keep riding like I'm riding, keep enjoying it.
My plan is to ride all these extreme enduros, Erzberg, Romaniacs, tough one, and Cito Sky.
I guess the biggest thing for 2013 is the arrival of my daughter. We're going to be moving back to New Zealand, which is, you know, something I'm pretty excited about, back home to friends and family. So it's going to be a life-changing year, but hopefully a really busy and exciting year.
With an impressive list of wins this year, Graham Jarvis establishes himself as the world's #1 hard-enduro rider for the 2012 season. What will 2013 hold for the best? Find out next year as hard-enduro takes a well-deserved break. Thanks for joining us. Keep the rubber side down and see you in 2013.